Hey! What's up, film heads? We are back. I don't know that we could do this weekly, but every time we're done with one or going into one, I feel like we should do it weekly.
So do I. I get that same feeling. I'm like, man, I kind of miss not doing it for a week. So
me too.
I'm ready to jump back in.
It'd be hard. But when we get into the new house and I have my own digs, I might be pushing for maybe 3 times a month. Hey, everybody. Welcome back. Sober Chef Eric, Bearded Life Joe, Barber Dojo, your favorite, and don't say that we're the only, but your favorite Beards on Film. And we, hold on. Let me mute that. And we are going to be talking some directors. But before we do that, a couple bookkeeping notes. Number 1, next time we get on here, we, of course, are going to be doing the audience appreciation, where our audience members who have already been chosen choose the films, and they kind of pair up with one of us. And we'll do that kind of as a rotating thing. Like, let's just say it's me and Walt first. Walt and I would talk for 20, 30 minutes. And then Walt, I would say, good day, sir. Thank you very much. And then we would bring in, Joe and Disney. And then they would kind of hold the show. Just to be easier than randomly, cycling everyone around. So we'll kind of do a different format than the way we usually do films on here. So that's number 1. Number 2 is starting next episode is when we start rotating the show to the different channels. And we'll make sure in our prep materials and our hype stuff that we let you guys know. But the next one and the one after is Joe's choice. So the next 2 will be on Bearded Life Joe's channel. Okay. The next 2 will be on Bearded Life Joe's. And then we'll just go from there. Nicole. Hi, Nicole. I don't know Nicole.
I have to say hi to Nicole. Hi. How you doing, beautiful? Good to see you. She's a friend.
Nicole, I've known Joe for a long time. He's never called me anything close to beautiful. So already your status is pretty high up there.
And Nicole, you have the privilege of being the first woman to attend a live Beards on Film.
That's right. Very true, Eric.
Wow, that's true. Wow, I didn't even think of that one. Yeah, we're moving up.
Camo Cam with the early jokes. T-Bearded Strickland. What's up, Strickland? Vacto. Brett Berlin. Sober Chef Erica. Wait, he's on the panel. Walt. Jersey Ron. We're going to have to assign a Blue Wrench one of these days. Joe, I'm going to leave that to you because you know how to do that.
Well, I do know how to do it only on my channel, though, Joe. You have to do it on your channel.
Okay.
So all you have to do, though, is if you're watching the live, click on somebody's name.
Yeah.
And if you want to make them a moderator, it'll say make a moderator.
Okay.
Just click on their name.
Okay, gotcha. NJ Gabagool. What is up, NJ Gabagool? Russ Young, my man. Yes, NJ Gabagool is in the house. That doesn't mean that.
Good man. He was listening.
All right. I think I got everyone. Russ. Yeah, I got them all. Okay. So before we jump in and do our thing, since this is the first time we've kind of got away from genres, or types of film, we're actually going to do the dudes or girls, ladies that make these things. Joe wanted to kind of talk a little bit about directors and styles and things. So Joe, go ahead and kick it off.
Yeah, so the reason we decided to do this and the reason we all have our love for the films and such, different directors have their different calling cards, right? Different things that when you watch a film, you can say, that's their film. That's this guy, right? Like Tarantino films are usually very easy to piece one to the next. Certain things he's going to do in each film and certain calling cards he has. But the bigger directors out there, for the most part, that you can see those things, right? A few of us tonight are going to try and spotlight some guys you might not have heard of. And then we're also going to try and spotlight some guys you have heard of, but maybe haven't connected their films the way you could be doing, and show you things you can look for in these films as their calling cards, man. Remember, we also are solely basing this off on the movies that we enjoy, basically. All the lists we've each made up are based off of the films we enjoy, and they're all from the same director. Honestly, the guy who made me start looking into a director's playlist was Tarantino. He's the one who got me looking in depth to see, okay, what else did he make? The next one was Spike Lee. He was the next guy that made me start checking, going, all right, what else did Spike make? Let me check here. and then so on and so on. You just go down the rabbit hole and you find out that with most directors, if you like one of their film and they've got 10 on their IMDb list, you've probably got at least another 7 or 8 films in there you're going to like. Usually, not all the time, but usually. So we hope you guys all enjoy tonight, man. We love doing this show. So, hey, Eric, anything you want to add, sir?
Yeah, I mean, kind of what gets me into a director is not only just the movie, but kind of what's going on in my life at the time, and like what girl I took to see a certain movie, and
that actually might get me to not like a director. Sorry.
Yeah. But things like that, and yeah, especially after you see a couple, if you didn't realize they were directed by the same guy, you're like, or girl, you're like, wow, I didn't realize that was both of their, so I really enjoyed that aspect of deep diving into, some guys and girls I really like that are directors.
And the other thing is I'll say is that I can compare this to is like in any art, you have markers for an artist. I think of comic books, and being a big comic collector, I can look at a page and tell you if it's George Perez or Jack Kirby or Todd McFarlane or Jim Lee, or just by looking at their lines, just like looking at their arrangement. Vocalist for a singer, you know based on certain notes, or a guitar player or drummer, you just know if you know those things, you know their style. Same thing with directors. As we get into this, and what we're going to basically have is Eric's going to have a really well-known one. Joe's going to have a completely unknown one, pretty much. And I'm going to fall more towards the unknown, but you might have seen 1 or 2 of the films that my guy did. Remember this, we could have all done the Scorsese, Tarantino. We could have done that route, and maybe we will down the road. But to me, my mission as through Film Bits is to educate the audience into how to be more active viewers of film, and to look for things that perhaps you don't usually do, and to sit there and start recognizing what are the patterns of, Brett Berlin mentioned Ang Lee. What are the patterns of an Ang Lee film? What are the themes of an Ang Lee film? And so that's why I made the choice I did tonight. And also, Joe and Eric made theirs. All right. Hey, Rob Acker, anything else before we get rolling? Clint's in the house as well. Excellent. Okay. Wait, let me see if I can do this. This is my week, my choice, so I get to start off. I'm a huge fan of foreign cinema, and this director actually said, had a great line about the 1-inch barrier, meaning the subtitle string in a foreign film, and how we in the West sometimes get all hung up with not wanting to read subtitles, and we miss out on a lot of really great cinema. So my guy is, let me see here. There we go. My guy is Korean because I'm a huge fan of Korean cinema, and it's Bong Joon-Ho. Okay. I'm going to go chronologically with Bong Joon-Ho, but he's definitely done a film recently you darn sure heard of. And he's done a film a few years before that you might have even seen because it was an American film. And he actually did 2 English-speaking films in between his Korean stuff. And if you're watching a Bong Joon-Ho film, you might be seeing this guy a lot. The guy on the left there, Kang Ho-sung is the actor's name. He will be in all 3 of the Bong Joon-Ho films I talk about tonight. And he has been in at least 1, maybe 2 others as well. The first film I'm going to talk about tonight is called Memories of Murder. It is available on Amazon Prime, and it was named by Korean critics, even though it was made in, I think, 2003, it was named the film of the century. I think they meant that even though it came out in 2003, it was perhaps the greatest piece of Korean cinema up to that point. And the idea of the film is it's loosely based on some serial killings of the 1980s in Korea, which were not solved when the film was released. So they were like 20-year-old crimes. But as the film was going on and Bong Joon was doing his press junkets and stuff, they actually found the murderer. So it's really kind of bizarre how like this thing becomes a film, and then this cold case for 20 years, they wind up finding the guy who did all of this. One thing that's central to a Bong Joon-Ho film is class struggle. Lower versus upper, rural versus city, this idea of people. He's very much a guy for the working man. So you will always be looking at that kind of class struggle where he is going to be behind the working man and their attempts to do things. And he subverts a lot of genre with that, which I'll get into more in the second film. Here's a poster for Memories of Murder right there. It's a really, one of the problems with foreign film, and I'm not talking about a film made in England like the one we did, Snatch, all right? While it is foreign film, it's friendly and familiar foreign film. Is if we don't know enough about the culture, we might miss some things, and that can make it problematic on us. So when we look at Memories of Murder, there is a huge amount of underemployment, I think, in South Korea, even going back to the early 2000s, and you're going to see this time and time again. And we're kind of seeing some in the United States now, and that people are getting college degrees and not getting jobs befitting those college degrees. So there's a stagnation, and you see this widening gap of like the lower and disappearing middle class and then the upper class. In Memories of Murder, what we do is we do rural versus city. It takes place in a rural area of Korea. The first scene we see, the crime scene is a freaking mess. And Kang Ho-sung plays the lead detective from this little podunk town in South Korea, and he's got no game. He calls himself Shamanized because his way of figuring out if you're guilty or not is by, if you've ever seen Curb Your Enthusiasm, you know, when Larry David looks someone up and down, that's what he does. He uses his shaman eyes to look you up and down. That's his scientific detective work. Now, remember, we're in the 1980s. So also there are things like DNA testing and stuff aren't as prevalent, or in Korea don't even exist. Okay. Definitely don't exist in the rural parts of the nation. So his kind of police work, and he has a partner, what they will do is they will interrogate and torture people into admitting so they can say, yep, we solved the crime. And they start off by interrogating and torturing this kid with a mental disability. And he's confessing because they're beating the hell out of him. The officer's name, let me get the officer's name, played by the guy I showed you. Officer or Detective Park and Detective Seo. Detective Seo is a brutal guy. He actually has like a little thing he slips over his shoe, like you'd see a doctor in a hospital. You know how they would slip the little thing over his shoe? So he doesn't leave marks on his feet when he's kicking the hell out of people he's trying to get to confess.
Hey, Joe.
Yeah.
You saw the picture of the director on the screen. I haven't seen the actor.
Oh, thank you very, very much, Eric. Holy God, I do
not
that.
Just a pretty face, Joe. Not just a pretty face.
Let me give you the actor. This is what I do with my students. I'll say something like, Mr. Ayers, you're not showing us anything at the moment. Okay, so here's the actor there, the guy to the left. That is Kang Ho-sung. And this is his partner, the guy that no, this is not his partner. This is a detective that comes in from Seoul because this case is getting so much news. Okay. And then the other thing I wanted to show you, since I didn't show it to you before, was the Memories poster, because I think it's a really cool poster that is just kind of haunting and also serves as a symbol throughout the film as well, or at least a few times. And that's this guy right here. Let me pull it up. There we go. And that's the Memories of Murder poster right there. Okay. So we have these rural nincompoops who are beating kids with special needs to try and come up with someone they can say that they solved the crime and they can say is the murderer. Then we have this other detective come in from Seoul to help him. And he's a big city guy, and he does practice good detecting work. But you can kind of see, and another thing Bong Joon-Ho does is he always goes into black comedy. When we get to the first murder scene, we don't even realize it's a murder scene, but Detective Park is running around and yelling because it's in like a rice field, and there's kids playing, and he's got a shoe print and he's like mapped out the shoe print. So he's trying to do good stuff, but 2 minutes later, a farm tractor drives right over his shoe print, destroying his evidence. So there's all this craziness, and then you see a cop slide down a real steep thing and kind of tumble in. And then after 2 minutes of this chaos, the camera pans and you see, oh shit, there's a dead body. This is a crime scene, right? So this guy comes in from Seoul, and they don't get along, Seoul and Park, because remember, Park has the shaman eyes. More murders keep happening. So the Seoul guy is trying to narrow it down and teach them the good detective techniques. They have a couple close calls. They get a guy that they actually think is the guy, and then he winds up having to be released. They find a second guy that they want to torture and interrogate, and on and on and on until finally they grab a dude and they have DNA evidence, and they send the DNA evidence to America. Now we're about 3/4 of the way through the film at this point, and we're starting to see the complete 180 turn of the Seoul guy and Detective Park. As Detective Park, who actually went to a shaman and had a ritual performed so he could try and catch this guy, he is starting to use more of the proper detective techniques, and the Seoul detective is just getting madder and madder and more obsessed with catching this guy. And so the guy they think it is, and they have trapped, and they have his DNA. They chased him down. They've got him trapped near a train tunnel. One of them is holding the DNA envelope, and the envelope says it's not this guy. The DNA is not conclusively a match, so they can't say for sure it's a killer. And the Seoul guy, who's been the voice of reason this entire time, takes a couple shots at the guy and eventually hits him with a bullet and a ricochet. And Park, the rural guy who's just been this idiot the whole time, is the one having to tell the Seoul guy, you're wrong, knock it off. Just like in real life, they don't find the killer. Park winds up leaving the detectivehood and becomes a salesman, and he goes by the old scene at the end of the film, and it's very, very poignant. It's not ha-ha laughable funny, but it's very kind of dark humorish. It's beautifully shot. Some of these shots of the landscape and the areas and just all sorts of stuff. And this is very early Bong Joon-Ho, and we're going to see him perfect on this and get really good with the next two films. I would recommend it, but it might run a little slow for you, only if you're not a fan of reading subtitles, don't watch it. But if you want to get into it and kind of get an idea of how another country does a police procedural, or what is supposed to be a police procedural, and then turned on its head, and also learn a little bit about the culture and how people view things, I'd give it a shot. Couple trivia notes real quick on this one, and then I'll pass it along. Ho, who wrote it, he's kind of like one of these guys that likes to write and shoot his own stuff, said the script was influenced by Alan Moore's From Hell. Alan Moore, of course, who did The Watchmen and V for Vendetta and all those things. And From Hell was a great graphic novel. Johnny Depp starred in the movie. But Ho was not a fan of that movie, but he liked the Alan Moore graphic novel. So his script for Memories of Murder was influenced by the graphic novel. Quentin Tarantino said that this film, plus the next film I'm going to do, both by the same director, are two of his must-see films, his top 20 films from 1992 to 2009. All right, so that's what got me onto him in the first place, is that QT said 10% of the films you've got to see in this time period are from this dude. All right, there's a deleted scene where they go into a red light district, and the film crew had to actually ask a pimp for permission to film in the area, which I think is kind of cool, because it's kind of like the pimp held the territory and they're just coming into a real red light district, and so they had to get permission from him. What's one other interesting thing, last interesting thing for me, is I'm doing 7 right now for Film Bits, right? There is a total homage to 7 in this film, and Bong Joon-Ho likes a lot of American directors, but there is a scene in 7 where Mills asks Somerset, have you ever seen anything like this? And that exact same line and the framing of the cops and everything is exactly alike. So Ho pays an homage to David Fincher to 7. And And a lot of people think that Zodiac, David Fincher also directed Zodiac. A lot of people think Zodiac takes a lot from Memories of Murder and the way it's set up, the way it's shot, and things like that. So it's kind of like this cyclical thing. Ho pays homage to Fincher, and then Fincher steals some of Ho's ideas in Memories of Murder and produces Zodiac, which is another great film. All right. So that is Bong Joon-Ho film number 1. And I think I'm going to hand it over to we'll hand it over to Joe, keep you most uncomfortable, and then we'll let Eric make you guys feel uncomfortable with the more famous director.
So I just want to let everybody know something real quick. My screen is completely frozen. I'm here, right?
Yeah.
We're moving and talking. It's fine, Joe.
Okay. Just making sure I'm here and everybody's fine, because on my screen, I'm still looking at the last picture Joe put up, and Sober Chef Eric is totally still. So is Joe. Everything's weird right now. So I just want to make sure you guys can see me moving and all. Like, I'm good?
You're good.
All right. Then we'll just keep rolling here. No worries. So my guy is one that you might not have heard of, unless you've done like your, what I call my, what was I about to say? Yeah. My on-demand search. So what I do is sometimes I sit here and I just go through on-demand movies and I start rolling through. And if I start seeing that Rotten Tomatoes is giving a film a high enough rating, I'll usually at least give it a shot real quick. I don't always base what they say as gospel, if you will, but it at least tells me that it's worth a shot sometimes. And I found out that 3 films I had given a shot to and loved were all by the same man. His name is S. Craig Zahler. He is a gentleman who has had some controversy swirl around him because of the kind of films that he makes, but he also lives by the phrase of he doesn't really care what anybody thinks of his work. He makes his work for himself, and he also says to just put it out there. People are going to think what they think. Doesn't matter what they think, whether they love it, they hate it, put it out there. He's also has always said to base your films in reality. If you base them in reality and then grow it outwards, then the film will always have grassroots that are more realistic to the watcher. That's the way he feels, at least. Whether that's always the reality or not, I don't know, but that's what he does with his films. And the first one is actually, I'm going to go in the order of the films that I think were his least to his best, if you will, right? So I'm going to give you the one I didn't like that much down to the one that I love. That's the way we're going to do this. And the one I could have lived without really is the one I'm going to show you now. That's Dragged Across the Concrete. It stars Mel Gibson and Vince Vaughn, and Vince Vaughn has actually been in 2 of the 3 movies this gentleman has directed. So it seems like almost like a Tarantino thing in there, if you will, Joe. Him and Vaughn seem to have a relationship together, and they enjoy working together. Rotten Tomatoes gives Dragged Across the Concrete a 76% rating, and it's about 2 cops who, if you read this, they make it seem like it's 2 cops who got the bad end of a deal, and then when they got suspended for doing nothing, they entered into the seedy underworld to go and make their money. That's actually a complete lie. The readout for this film is a complete lie. They are 2 of the dirtiest cops you will ever run across. They have no problem beating a witness, torturing them if need be to get the evidence they need and things like that. They have no problem taking jewelry, money, whatever it might be from a suspect. They don't care. And it just so happens that this one time that they handcuff a suspect to a fire escape and are putting the boots to him until he tells them where his money and jewelry is, it gets caught on film. This day and age, it's not that easy to get away with that stuff anymore, right? Somebody's always got a camera rolling somewhere.
Yeah.
So they get caught. They get suspended. And they start looking at their prospects of life without possibly getting their badge back, because it's an indefinite suspension. That means, we'll revisit this in a couple of years, maybe, if you're lucky. And they don't like their prospects. They don't know what to do. So they essentially go rogue. They start using their police contacts to get tips about drug deals, things like that are supposed to go down, so they can go in there and essentially rob the drug dealer, right? They try to solidify it themselves as saying, we're not doing anything really wrong here, right? We're just going and robbing the bad guys. You know, we're being the good guys, really. But in reality, this is who they've been the whole time, right? They don't care. They worry about themselves, nobody else. The way this film fits Zahler's way of doing things is it's very raw, it's very real, it's very gritty. He doesn't back away from violence. He doesn't back away from any of those things. In fact, he shows it in such a brutal way that there have been a few of his films that have made me kind of turn away from the screen. There's times where he does push that envelope, and that's been shown because this is actually the only film that has an official rating. It got an R rating. This is the only one that did. The other ones are unrated films.
Oh.
They're unrated. They have no rating on them unless they did it later on. When they were first released, they got no rating because they said they were way too over the top. That was the way the MPAA saw it? Did I say that right, Joe?
MPRAA.
Okay, thank you, Joe.
Association of America, yep.
Yeah, they saw it as the first two films he made were far too over the top and too violent and everything else, so there was no rating on them. This was the first film of his that had an actual rating, and because of that, had an actual release, like on streaming networks and stuff like that. It wasn't just put out there and never talked about. The one thing that seems to haunt this man, though, however, is his releases. So this was his biggest budget movie, right? He had a $15 million budget for this one. And we can all probably guess that most of that money went to Mel Gibson. Like, let's just be honest here. A big chunk of that probably went to Mel and Vince Vaughn. This movie only grossed $660,000. Again, on the streaming networks and all that, people love this film. It's not one of my favorites from him, but it's one of those films that have grown a fan base. People really like it, but it just does not click. People aren't buying it. They're not downloading it. And it's a common theme with him where he gets rave reviews for the films he does. People love the work he's doing, but they're not selling. So it worries me about going forward. How much longer will studios continue to invest money into his projects when they're not seeing any return on these projects? We all know it's all about the almighty dollar sign at the end of the day, and that's that. But Dragged Across the Concrete, to me, the reason I think it's the weakest of the bunch is because it's a story that's been done before, right? Crooked cops, start off crooked, go worse down the road, and it was just a story that was done over and over to me. And to me, it felt like he finally got a studio to invest some big money in him, and he played it just a little bit safe. He went a little bit safer than his other two movies, which are the reason he got to where he is. So hopefully going forward, he gets back to doing what he's been doing. But it's not a bad film. Just definitely not one of my favorites. I've watched it once, and that was it. And that's the only one of his films that I've only watched one time and never thrown on again. So, but if you like Mel Gibson, it is one of his better performances that I've seen more recently.
I'd agree with that.
It is one of Mel's better performances of his recent flicks. And Mel's actually got a few good movies that came out recently, but this is one of his better performances. And this guy also, his writing just really seems to agree with Vince Vaughn, because Vince Vaughn always shines when he's on one of this guy's movies. Always. So it's worth the watch. But if you're just checking out this director for the first time, it's not the movie I would recommend for your first watch.
Yeah.
If that makes sense. That's right. That's it for right now. So Eric, you're up, sir.
All righty. Well, on recommendation of many guys in this community, I got my first Dixon. Yes. Now, they call this the flat tracker or the tracker. I call it the old brother. Yeah. So if you don't know who did Oh Brothers Where Art Thou, that would be the Coen brothers, Ethan and Joel. Joel's the older brother, and Ethan's the younger brother. And one thing that I love about them is they have so many actors and actors that get in one of their movies and then are like, yeah, we need to work together again. And, you know, that's always a good sign, especially when you're talking about people like John Turturro, John Goodman, Clooney, Frances McDormand. Obviously, I mean, she's married to Joel, you know, and she's been in every movie, at least in some aspect. But the one that got me into them, high school soccer road trip, ended up having a little too much fun the night before one of the games. And on TV, there came this movie that had the longest intro. And maybe it was because I was little, I don't know, but just got me. And Raised in Arizona, if you haven't seen it, just go ahead and leave. Go ahead and leave. I don't need you here.
Yeah, Eric's feeling it tonight, baby.
But
What was the name of that film?
Raised in Arizona.
All right, Joe, I gotta go. Sorry.
But yeah, so they're kind of known for their comedy. But the thing I love about them is that was the first movie I ever saw of them. And then the next movie they come out with Miller's Crossing, which is a gangster movie and
highly underrated gangster movie.
Highly, highly underrated. Now, a lot of people, because it's such a different genre, a lot of people haven't even heard of this movie.
Yeah.
But definitely give it a watch. I mean, if it's not on the streaming services, you can get it from your library most times because it did okay. But just a little background on Joel and Ethan. Their net worth is the same as Quentin Tarantino's, 120 mil. I thought that was pretty cool. Yeah. And the films in total, it was a hard time to had a hard time finding how much they've grossed over all their different movies. But conservative figure is 1.5 billion. But since we're kind of doing it kind of movie by movie, Raised in Arizona, Holly Hunter plays a correction officer, and Nicolas Cage plays a repeat offender. And they fall in love and they get married, and there's a guy that owns Unpainted Arizonas, which is a unpainted wood furniture store, because nobody would buy anything from Unpainted Huffines, you know.
Right.
But they end up having quintuplets, he and his wife. So, you know, Holly Hunter and Nick Cage, you know, you know, they decide, well, he's got more than he can deal with. We can borrow one of them. And it's all about them getting the baby and everything that goes on. And this is the first movie of theirs you see John Goodman in. And then you see him repetitively. And a really cool fact about Raised in Arizona is Randall Tex Cobb plays the bad guy. And he was a professional boxer. And it was his fight against Larry Holmes where he was just too damn tough for his own good. Holmes literally beat the living hell out of him all 12 rounds. And Howard Cosell was like, I'm never announcing another boxing match ever, because he was just too damn tough to go down. I don't even think he even took a knee. But Raised in Arizona, great comedy. It's a great one to watch when you know, maybe you've imbibed a little that night and just want something that you don't have to, you know, put too much thought into. Great. And the main thing I love about the Coen brothers is they do so many different styles. You know, they do the comedies like Raised in Arizona. They do the dark comedies like Fargo, which won them an Oscar. They do like the noir gangster. They do the anti-Western with No Country for Old Men, which won them 3 Oscars, and is one of this guy's favorite movies. So yeah, they do all different kinds, you know, dark comedy, and they've done a romantic comedy. I mean, they've got 18 films that they've written and directed, and they have a bunch of other films that they've written on or done rewrites on, like Bad Santa. They did a rewrite punch up on that, you know, which a lot of people don't realize. The Billy Bob Thornton classic Christmas movie.
Anti-Christmas.
Yeah. But yeah, man, the Coen brothers, there's a reason that college classes are offering curriculum just on them. You know, they're just brilliant writers. And what's funny is they got, ever since Blood Simple, they didn't want their names just being repeated in the credits. So they use a name, and I always get this name wrong, so I had to write it down. Roderick James edits a lot of their movies, and it's because they edit it together, and they just didn't want to constantly be seeing Ethan and Cole and Ethan and Joel. And that's also one reason why primarily Joel gets credited with directing the movies and Ethan gets the credit on producing the movies, but they actually share the load. So, yeah, let's go ahead and move back on over to this guy.
Right on. Yeah, when they won that Best Director for No Country, the Hollywood, the motion picture rules don't allow 2 people to share a director's name, so it had to be one of them, you know, so they had to make that choice. Which is, was it Joel for that Oscars, Eric?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
I think I had heard if they win another one, it'll be
Ethan got it.
Okay. Ethan got it. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. Coen brothers, great guys. And I will hype my own stuff. If you haven't seen No Country for Old Men, do so. And then stay on this channel. My very first Film Bits was a breakdown of No Country, which is so rich and full of great stuff. All right. Moving back to Korea. Oh, yeah. Go ahead, Eric.
Another quick plug. Joe picked No Country for Old Men for our first episode. So if you haven't watched it, go back, give it a watch, give it a like, subscribe.
Thank you. Now, this would be kind of like how Joe started with his least favorite. Memories of Murder isn't necessarily my least favorite, but it would be the one for Bong Joon-Ho that I would go to last, even though it was his first film. My next film is going to be the one that I would say is the entryway to him, or it's the American film that he did in 2013 that you might have seen. This film was done in 2006. 2013, the film you might have seen by him that I'm not going to profile is Snowpiercer with Chris Evans, a.k.a. Captain America. That is a Bong Joon-Ho film, and it's now becoming a TV series, and I'm happy because that means Bong Joon-Ho is making some money and he can make more great films. So if you saw Snowpiercer and enjoyed Snowpiercer, you enjoyed it for certain reasons. He wrote the screenplay as well as directed it, and chances are you might like other films of his, although he's only done, I think, one other English version. You'd have to go for the subtitle dive. But what we're going to do now was made in 2006, and this was the second movie that Tarantino said you should see, made between 1992 and 2009. And the reason I say it's a good entry movie is, to us in the West, on first blush, it looks like, and some of you might have seen this, it looks like a monster movie called The Host. Now, the director himself will tell you it is not a monster movie. He sees it as a much different kind of movie. All right. I want to read a little blurb, though, that pertains to Ho, that is relevant in all his films, but we definitely see it in this film and the film to come. So Bong Joon-Ho demonstrates how he hybridizes Hollywood conventions with local, i.e. Korean realities. Koreans have experienced in tandem with their rapid economic development The fact that they have gotten so economically powerful so quickly leads Ho to subvert the genres that he works within. So this is a monster movie, and he subverts one of the main aspects of a monster movie right away. And it doesn't matter whether he's doing a crime thriller or a sci-fi film. He does this. He subverts these genres because he wants it to be realistic to Koreans, and as a result, you don't get that typical Hollywood happy ending. All right, because that's not realistic, and it's why I like his films as well. Although this one hurt the way spoilers for this. Okay, so if you haven't seen The Host, now how he subverts the idea of the Host or of the monster movie film is, well, it's one of the biggest things that we can expect if we're going to go see a monster movie, particularly if it's not a sequel or something. Go ahead,
Monsters?
Joe. Yeah, we're going to see monsters, but when are we going to see them? Hour two, yeah.
Yeah, well, that's the thing. If you remember the classic Godzilla films, and me and Joe actually just talked about this.
Yeah.
It was actually like about 40 minutes of bad acting, and then Godzilla came in the movie,
Yeah.
with maybe about 15 to 20 minutes of Godzilla sprinkled into an hour and a half film. You're right, yeah.
If you ever saw Cloverfield and you didn't get motion sick, you had to wait almost to the very end to get even a halfway glimpse of the thing, right?
Yeah.
So an American convention of monster filmmaking is we hide the monster. Maybe we'll show you his foot. Maybe we'll show you a quick dark glimpse of movement. Well, you are not going to get a full-on shot of that damn monster till we are getting closer to the end than we are at the beginning.
And to me, that's because we play upon, a lot of directors in the monster genre play upon your imagination does a lot worse than our CGI can do.
Right.
So we give you a glimpse of how bad this thing could be, and we let your mind build from there as to this amazing monster that's tearing apart the city.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
And all the carnage they wreak and how they disarray bodies and everything. And
Sorry, I love Godzilla movies. Sorry.
No. Don't ever stop. Well, because this isn't a monster movie to the director, he does this in the first 10 to 15 minutes. He just throws it right out there. So this, and notice he's got something in his tail. All right. Now, this is kind of cool too, because this has got a premise based, at least the beginning, based off of history as well. Back in, I forget exactly when the date was. I believe it was the 60s or 70s. An American Army officer told a South Korean subordinate of his, they had all this extra old formaldehyde, and he wanted to dump the formaldehyde. And so he dumped the formaldehyde in the river. All right. Which, as we know now, if we're ecologically aware, is not how we should dispose of formaldehyde. So Bong Joon-Ho takes that reality and runs with it, because by dumping all of that, and there's a great shot, there's this great sideways shot of the bottles and bottles and bottles of formaldehyde that this guy dumped in the river. And what he dumps in the river winds up giving us this thing, all right, this creature. What this thing does, and here's another great shot real quick. What this thing does is it kidnaps a small girl, a very young girl. And let me go ahead and stop this so I can give you the shot of that, because it's a great still, and it's one of the greatest shots in the movie when you can see it action-wise. Okay, so here's the shot of the little girl, and you see the monster rumbling in the background. And Ho doesn't just give us a quick shot. This thing goes on land. There's like this park, this river park, and it runs up these stairs, and it just starts, causing havoc all over the place, right? He throws us into the monster and the monster into us. And this girl is just frozen in all the carnage, and she was trying to leave with her dad, and then she gets frozen, and we get this shot. And the monster grabs the girl and takes off into the river. And he lives in the sewer system of the river that's connected to the river. Now, her dad is...
Where'd he go? I guess the monster got him.
Wait a minute. Am I still here?
Yeah.
Okay,
so I can see you, Joe. I see you,
It's
Joe.
every time. So I know we're live. Unfortunately, these things happen. It's every time he throws up a picture for some reason because my screen is frozen as well. Every time he throws up a picture for some reason, we get
Really?
messed up.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So then I won't show that. I won't show Kang Ho Song.
I'm actually going to back out real quick just so you know. I'll come right back in, but I'm frozen over here.
Okay. So our rural cop from Memories of Murder is this little girl's dad, and he and his dad own like a Riverside like snack shack. Okay, think of like, I don't know, like a 7-Eleven, but much smaller. But it has candy and it has snacks and it has ramen, and through that, that's been their business. And the son is just kind of a layabout, lazy. I don't want to say good for nothing, but he's just kind of a lump. All right. The little girl. Oh, and they also have in their family, they have a cousin who is a Olympic level archer, and they're watching her compete on TV when this creature hits the Riverside Park. So this girl is stolen, is kidnapped, and Bong Joon-Ho calls this a kidnap movie because it's not a monster movie, right? He wants, remember, he doesn't want those things. This is another way he subverts genre. Those things that we would think would be the hero, like in a superhero hero film. If there's a monster, Iron Man or Spider-Man or Captain America is going to save the day. That's not what this film is about. And there's even an American soldier who faces off with the thing and fights it and does some damage until he loses his arm. So Ho gives us a little taste of that. He gives us the blonde-haired, kind of studly American guy who looks to be doing well against the monster until the monster actually does him in, or at least takes off his arm. So Ho does away with the monster. The monster's a problem. It's an issue. But the film is about this kind of fractured, dysfunctional family getting that girl back. Okay? And so as we trace through and move through the film, the dad, who, again, I told you is just kind of this lump, he winds up having brain surgery because he's captured. Because an element, kind of a red herring element that Ho introduces into the film is that this creature is exuding some kind of virus or some kind of infection. And they have been touched by him. So he's captured by the army and they are isolated. And all the people that were in the park that they think might have been exposed to this creature are all isolated. And they wind up doing brain surgery on this guy, and it's done by an American Army hospital. And they wind up thinking that he needs brain surgery done to him because of this infection. And there's nothing he could do. He can't fight it. He has no voice. And so we see this struggle again against the powerful and the underwhelmed, the unpowerful, for lack of a better term, and how even though this guy is totally of his right mind, and these are things that the power structure is assuming about him, he's going to wind up getting brain surgery. Weirdly, it changes his character, and he winds up being a little more proactive, and in an odd way, it actually winds up being better for him as a character for trying to get his daughter back. His dad, who is part of this whole thing, faces off with the monster. The monster comes back at a time. The dad of our actor Kang Ho Song gets killed. He's got the cousin, the Olympic cousin, has come back. His brother is also he's one of these guys I told you about who had a college degree, and he's like Mr. Book Smart, but he can't find a job anywhere. So his brother is dealing with this conflict as well. They've got to try and escape from the army because they've all been captured. They're trying to get the girl back. So it's this real, like, kind of like the structure of the government against this tiny family into trying to get that girl back. And this monster is just kind of woven into the mix. Bong Joon-Ho even argues afterwards that the monster had to die. Or sorry. An American director, friends of Ho's, argued that the monster had to die because it killed so many people. And Ho argued back, well, no, it was just trying to eat to survive, because the monster didn't ask to be created. It was created due to negligence. And it gets into that whole kind of interesting argument of, okay, yeah, the monster killed a bunch of people, but it was just trying to eat. And think about its origin and its creation. And that's a fun little gray area. This is going to be the one I'm going to spoil the most, because this little girl winds up finding another little boy, because the monster, interestingly, puts people into its mouth, swims to its lair, and then kind of spits them back out. Okay, and he kind of has this like this cachet of victims. Some are already dead, some are not. The girl constantly has to be dead, like to pretend to be dead, to play dumb. And this little boy who winds up being also kidnapped. The little girl kind of becomes like a mother to him. The little girl's probably like 8 to 10. The little boy's like kind of 5 or 6. And the little boy and his father, who dies, when the boy gets kidnapped, it's because his father got killed. They practice this thing called this Korean custom, which I found very interesting, called seori. Seori is Ho says is impossible to translate to Western society. It's a looter culture in Korea of young kids stealing food, typically melons of some kind, not as a criminal act, but as a mischievous act. If the children were caught, they would not be arrested or turned into authorities, but scolded for their actions. This will become important later, because the whole reason the kid and his dad were on the riverside is because all the businesses were kind of unguarded, and they actually raided the business that the family that had the little girl kidnapped. They raided their little 7-Eleven. Okay. So the movie winds on. They get close to the girl. They manage to, through various machinations, actually kind of locate where she is, kind of a proximal in the sewers. The army is coming up with this poison to kill this thing the next time it comes ashore, because it's this like yellow gas, and they think it's because of this virus that it holds. But it's also it's nasty to anything organic, and they're going to release it during a crowd of protesters who are protesting for different reasons. They just don't care. So there's definitely some anti-government commentary going on here by the director. But when they get to the girl, she has saved the little boy, but she has died. And that's the anti-Hollywood ending. That was the killer, because you are just going the whole time, get the girl, save the girl. And they get close and they get close. And the director just teases it the whole time. And you think she's going to be okay. And she's not. She dies. And it's just such a gut wrencher. The only kind of nice thing at the end of all of that is the father was part of this thief culture as a child as well, and he sees that in the little boy. And so since he's just lost his daughter, he kind of takes the boy in, since the boy is now an orphan. And there's a nice little scene with the two of them where he's heating ramen and they're eating and stuff like that. And so it's a very, very good film. It's action packed, even in the parts that don't involve the monster. We have, the hunt and the search and the chase for the girl. And it really sets up nicely what's going to come in what has become Bong Joon-Ho's masterwork, which was released just a couple years ago. Dark End, the name of the movie is The Host, and you can currently get it. You can currently rent it on Amazon Prime.
I just want to call him out for one thing here. He said this is not a monster movie. That's what he said, right? I want to call a little bit of nonsense on this one because of the chloroform dumping into the river, creating the monster, the same way our nuclear waste created Godzilla, okay? That's all.
When Ho is saying it's not a monster movie, he doesn't, like a Godzilla film, the focus is Godzilla or the other monsters. He doesn't want the focus to be on destroying the monster. The monster just happens to be something going on that causes the girl to be kidnapped. And it's all about this dysfunctional family fighting against all odds, the monster, the government, everything else, just to get this girl back, almost doing it, and then her having died. That would be his argument, Joe. You have whatever argument you want, sir.
And P.S. Did anybody else see in the comments that the girl Nicole, who's from Jersey, by the way, just said she loves Godzilla? Guys, I might be getting married. Just saying. It could be happening. This is amazing. These things are rare in the world, man. She's like a sports fan, likes Godzilla. I don't know. Her crazy might match my crazy. We'll see. All right. That was a good, you know what, Joe? I think I have seen The Host, dude, honestly. I think I have. I just think it might have been a while, honestly.
Yeah, it was 2006, so it might have. I just think it was kind of ironic that unintentionally The Host got lost when speaking of The Host.
Yeah. I honestly think I might have seen it. I could not recall it at all when you brought it up to me. And then just now, as you were showing some pictures and talking, I'm like, I think I saw that. It's just been a while. I'm going to have to go check it out again.
It's a good flick. Good flick.
All right. Am I up?
Yes, sir.
All right. Back to Mr. Zahler and his incredibly gruesome, brutally real world that he creates. This was on our Western episodes, actually, the next one. So I won't have this going all too long here because I've already talked about it up and down, left and right. His critically acclaimed best film, but to me, his second best film, is The Bone Tomahawk, starring Kurt Russell. He almost took Kurt Russell from that Wyatt Earp cut and threw him into a sheriff mold in a little town somewhere doing his thing. This movie fits the classic Western molds in a lot of ways, right? You have the classic good guy sheriff in the small town. Don't mess with him. He's a tough guy, all this other stuff. And you've got the nasty Indians, which that has caused some
Didn't show a photo that time.
Controversy, you're out of here.
I'm showing photos again. Ah,
Hey, Dark Ends, we get it.
thank you, Dark Ends. We'll be here in 2 more weeks, brother. We appreciate your patronage.
Yeah, while we're waiting for Joe, thanks to everybody showing up and throwing out some comments. We love it.
That was great. I just vanished. That was a lot of fun.
I think it's your tech, not my picks, Joe.
Maybe it's just my phone. Maybe it's time for an upgrade. I don't know, man. So anyways, yeah. Again, I don't remember where I was. I think I was talking about like the classic Western, the Indians, right?
Indians.
The Indians being the bad guys in this has caused a lot of uproar with the anti-Zahler crowd, if you will, because they feel like perhaps he's, I don't know, maybe a bit racist in a way, because he's always got the good guy and it being the white guy and the bad guy being of some ethnic background. And I never really put those things together. I just looked at it as the Cowboy versus Indian was a classic movie in the Westerns days. That's the way things went, right? And he was just playing on a classic Western here. And when he did an interview, that's what he said. He wanted to make a classic type Western with a more modern, real, gritty feel to it. And that's what he did, okay? Bone Tomahawk was honestly Kurt Russell's best performance in quite some time at this point. I mean, it was the best performance I've seen him deliver in a long, long time. Some of the other people you'll know in it, Patrick Wilson, Richard Jenkins, who plays Chicory and steals the damn movie, okay? Every time Chicory's on the screen, he's absolutely amazing. And the way he plays him is just fantastic. Chicory is the sheriff's helper. He can't get nothing right in life, and yet he's still there, basically. That's the whole point of the Chicory character. Go ahead, Eric.
Chicory reminded me of Slim Pickens.
Yeah.
You know, how he's kind of the comedic relief, but he'll give his life for his sheriff.
Right. And that's the thing. Like, Chicory really is the comedic relief throughout most of this movie. He gives you these little moments, but there's more than one time throughout the movie where the group would have been in some real trouble without him there. You know, Patrick Wilson's character gets hurt. Well, Chicory just happens to be a medic from the military, from his military days, from his army days. So he knows how to help him and reset his leg and everything else. Like, Chicory just keeps proving he's valuable, even though he really doesn't seem like he is. And another great moment for me in this might have been Sid Haig's last real performance on a screen during his later days, as he was very sick. In fact, Joe, I think you said you saw this one, right?
Mm-hmm.
Bone Tomahawk, finally?
I didn't when we initially had done it, but I have since.
All right. So the beginning scenes where you see Sid, you can tell he's not good. It's rough to watch, but at the same time, now going back, when I watch it with a smile going, he got one last little performance in before it was time for him to go. Sid Haig is an underappreciated actor, in my opinion, was really a good guy. I met him at a few conventions, awesome individual. So to see him one last time in this flick was great. And also something I think that was underlooked in this film is the fact that I feel like Zahler was taking a shot at our Western heroes in a lot of ways. So the way this film really gets moving here is David Arquette's character robs a grave, essentially, in an Indian graveyard. They're coming for him. He's having a drink in their town. Now, somebody says he looks suspicious. Kurt Russell comes. Kurt Russell could have just run him out of town at this point, right? He could have just said, get on your horse, get the hell out of town. But because he's being the big sheriff in town, the big tough guy, even though Arquette's done nothing wrong really yet, he figures he has. He winds up shooting him, and from there on, puts him in the cell. Indians come. Like, I think he was poking fun at, were these really the good guys, or were they the ones who caused most of the problems in those days because they were quick to draw their gun rather than actually find out what was happening? And Patrick Wilson even says this to Kurt Russell's character at one point. You started all this. You shot that guy in the bar for no reason. You could have just let him go, and my wife would be fine right now. But Bone Tomahawk, to me, should be on your top 3 Westerns of all time. Like, if you haven't seen Bone Tomahawk, it is a fantastic film. It is one of Zahler's 3s right now. I mean, he's only got 3 that he directed, 5 that he's written, 3 that he's directed. Of the 5 he's written, by the way, you only want to see 3 of them. I don't know what the hell the other 2 were. I don't know if he did those for paychecks or what. It might have just been the paychecks because they are bigger type movies with bigger industry backing. Tomahawk should definitely be on the top of the list. One of the first ones you see. It's fantastic. Joe, do you want me to just continue into my last one here, or do you want to keep going around?
No, we'll go around. We'll go to Eric.
Okay. All right, Eric, you're up, brother.
All righty. Second one of the Coen brothers that I'm doing. Oh, brother, where art thou? Now, what a lot of people may not realize, and they got nominated for Best Adaptation Screenplay. And the reason it's considered an adapted screenplay is it's based on the Odyssey.
Yep.
And, you know, so once you watch it, if you've read the book or had to read the book in high school, you'll see some, you know, the sirens and whatnot. But this film, great concept. John Turturro and Tim Blake Nelson and George Clooney are in jail. And George Clooney finds out that they're going to be creating a reservoir. And in that reservoir, where that reservoir is going to be is his old house. And in that house, there's treasure. And so they have to escape from jail and all their antics that take place. But one thing that's really awesome about this is the movie where they teamed up with T-Bone Burnett for the first time, music producer.
If I could just interrupt, who also did True Detective Season 1. He was the music consultant for True Detective Season 1.
Yeah. And he also, for Crazy Heart with Jeff Bridges.
Jeff Bridges, right.
And what they did with that movie is they brought a resurgence to bluegrass, which I've always been a fan of. You know, I used to go watch the Dead and jam bands, stuff like that. And one thing that was really awesome is they had like Ralph Stanley, who is like one of the all-time top bluegrass vocalists there is. And they had him do a few songs. And then the soundtrack got so popular, they actually did a Down the Mountain tour. And it had all the acts that performed on the soundtrack on tour, except for Ralph Stanley, because I'm not sure if he had died yet, but he was up there. And I actually went and saw that concert with a few friends at Red Rocks Amphitheater right outside of Morrison, Colorado, which is the most amazing concert venue ever. If you've never heard of it, watch Sunday Bloody Sunday YouTube music video. It's filmed there. They also did Live Under Blood Red Sky, which is more of a documentary. But it's definitely a musical comedy. So once again, they step outside of what box people try to put them in. You know, they've done all different styles of comedy. You know, they did the romantic comedy. Let me pull up the name, make sure I get it right. Beauty of Brain Injuries. Intolerable Cruelty. That one was with George Clooney and Catherine Zeta-Jones, and great movie. But back to Brother Where Art Thou. You know, Totoro's been in multiple other movies. John Goodman's been in multiple. Tim Blake Nelson most recently did The Ballad of Buster Scruggs, which is on Netflix. And that part was Coen Brothers. And then George Clooney, this was the first time he's worked with him. But since then, he did Intolerable Cruelty. He did Burn After Reading. He did been in a few other ones. He was in Hail Caesar, which is at the bottom of my list for these guys. Are so talented. But one thing, you know, George Clooney and the Coen brothers got along so well that they wrote Suburbicon together and kind of helped Clooney. Clooney is credited with the director credit, but you know, they helped him out a lot and they've been good friends. And Tim Blake Nelson's been in a bunch of their movies, and yeah, so just very talented guys. I like that, unlike other directors that I really like Scorsese. Okay, it's gonna be a gang movie, mobster movie, or it's gonna be a movie documentary. You know, there's not much of a stretch there. And don't get me wrong, love Scorsese, but not that big of a range. So that's all I got on Oh Brother Where Art Thou.
Okay, so Eric and Joe have to leave because they're going to UFC. So Joe and Eric, you both have 8 minutes for your segments to get out of here on time.
Oh, I don't have to go anywhere.
You don't have to. I thought you were going to watch UFC. No,
I'm good, dude. I'm good.
Eric, let's let Eric finish because he does need to leave, and I want to make sure he gets out of here on time.
All right, and then I don't. It's hard to say what my favorite movie is because it just kind of depends on my mood. And with my mood disorders, a lot of times I like to do comedies. And as you can tell by this cover, this thing is well used. I have used, this is probably my third DVD of Big Lebowski. Beginning of the relationship between Jeff Bridges, who plays the dude. Jeff Lebowski would be his given name. Or if you're into brevity, the Dude Meister. But this movie revolves around, there's a well-to-do businessman in town named Jeffrey Lebowski. Got the same name. Granted, Jeff Bridges plays the dude. Well, some guys are trying to blackmail the businessman, so they think they're gonna break in and kidnap, you know, or steal something, and they go to the dude's apartment and they steal his rug. And just so you know, the rug really tied the room together. It really did. But it's all the antics that go on after that, and they get the dude gets pulled in to being part of a bagman for a hostage situation where Lebowski's current wife, played by Tara Reid, gets kidnapped. So, yeah, I don't fucking roll on Shabbos. You're out of your fucking element, Donnie. But this most definitely best bowling movie of all time. And I haven't been able to find it yet, but there is a spin-off movie called The Jesus Rolls. And
I saw the beginning, the first 20 minutes, Eric, and I walked away from it.
okay.
But if you want to watch
that hard,
huh?
I won't hunt that hard then.
And I love John Turturro, but
Yeah, and
he did not feel like
he wrote and directed it. But yeah.
I just want to say, Barbados Joe, man, movies better rope him in quick or he's gone. Like, there's no little lane with Joe. You better rope me in or I'm getting the hell out of here.
You're supposed to get him in the first 5 minutes, 10 at most. You know? And if I don't know the director or the actor or something, it doesn't give me a reason to stick around, I'm going to take a chance, and you're going to do an iconic character like that, you better nail that shit quickly. Because the groundwork's been laid. The groundwork has been laid.
Yeah. Yeah, and I mean, you can get T-shirts, bumper stickers, or whatever. The Dude Abides. I've had a couple of them. There was a bar called Three Kings Tavern in Denver. They used to do the Lebowski Sunday mornings where they would take a bus to a bowling alley and they would serve white Russians. And this was at like 10 in the morning on a Sunday. So, you'd get some people that would show up in a robe or a little sweater like Lebowski wears, or those old school muscle pants. And yeah, but Big Lebowski, no giveaways. But it's got Steve Buscemi, John Turturro, Julianne Moore, Jeff Bridges, John Goodman. Phenomenal movie, in my opinion. And it's, like I say, it's not always my favorite, but it's definitely my most watched.
Yeah. By the way, I forgot a host note because you mentioned Fargo, Joe, and you mentioned him again. Bong Joon-Ho called the creature Steve Buscemi because of how Steve Buscemi looked in Fargo. For whatever reason, he called the monster and the host Steve Buscemi, which I thought.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, Steve Buscemi is the most attractive of men, but that's hard because when you see that monster up close, it has an ugly monster.
Yeah.
All right, Eric. Well, thank you for giving us your take on the Coens. Enjoy the UFC, sir. Oh, look at that nice shiny dome.
Yeah.
And we'll see you in 2 weeks as we do our audience appreciation.
Have a great night, Eric, brother. Go have fun, man.
Thanks a lot, guys and girls. Have a wonderful night. And a quick little plug. In 2 weeks, right before our episode on the 20th, we're going to be doing the Little Nitro Gummy Bear Challenge on Socially Bearded.
That's true.
This guy over here and me. And there's going to be 4 others. Dagan's
not this guy.
Do you not do the hot stuff, Joe?
No, I wasn't asked. Listen, I'm dumb enough to try anything once, but luckily I wasn't asked, so I didn't have to say yes.
Yeah, the screen got filled pretty quickly on that one.
Yeah.
But that should be really entertaining. That'll be on Socially Bearded YouTube channel. And you're going to see both Barbado and myself get some, probably some pain.
9,000 skull units of pain.
I really appreciate all you guys that have watched. Thanks for all the thumbs up and everything. Have a good night, guys and gals, and be safe. Remember, life's too short to eat bad food.
That is right. It is. And to watch bad films. Very good.
All right, Eric.
Joe, I'm going to have to show a couple pics because I really need you for this last film. So if I freeze you, I apologize.
It's cool.
Okay.
I'm frozen already.
You're frozen?
Yep.
See, so it's something on your end because I'm not showing anything.
Yeah.
That's weird.
Well, as soon as Eric tried to leave, I froze up. I don't know what happened.
And you've entered and come back, so.
Yeah, I'll back out real quick. I don't know what's happening tonight.
Okay.
I'll be right back, Joe.
No problem. So my final film is actually the most contemporary film of any of us tonight. I'm going to go through a couple of notes on it before we actually talk about the film. It won the Palme d'Or, which is the highest honor at the Cannes Film Festival in 2020. It was nominated for 6 Oscars and won 4 of them. And it was the first film to win the Palme d'Or and Best Picture in 60 some odd years. It's only been done 3 times, for a film in 1944, for a film in 1955, and for this film in 2020. In addition, it won Best Foreign Film at the Oscars and was the first Oscar for Best Picture given to a foreign film. And Bong Joon-Ho won Best Director as well. And the 4th win was for the Best Screenplay. Its 2 nominations went to Best Production, Best like Set Design, and I forget what the other one is. And here's a great one, okay? I just love this. Editing, because, and this is great. The editor got an Oscar nomination. Now listen to this. He edited the film in Final Cut Pro 7, which is an editing program that Apple quit supporting in 2011. So he's using at least 9-year-old dead software as far as Apple's concerned when he's editing this, right? And he did it on a computer that hadn't had a software update since 2014, and he gets nominated for an Oscar as an editor. That is such a great little tale.
Wow.
You know?
Yeah, that's cool.
This is a kind of film that if you like to challenge yourself, or you like, getting into cerebral kind of stuff, this is a kind of film I would recommend. It's not where I would go first with Bong Joon-Ho. You probably have heard about it. If you didn't see it, you might have seen it. It's called Parasite. All right. This is another film about class struggle in a big, bad way. And this is where the class struggle really, really comes out. Really quickly, there are 2 families, the Kims and the Parks. The Kims are the poor family. The Parks are the rich family. Kim and Park, by the way, are surnames in Korea, which are like Smith and Jones here. There are just so many of them. Here is the Kims' apartment, all right? And they work as a family. There it is. And it's actually a sub-apartment. They call it, they have a certain term for it, but it's below the street. And what they are doing here is they're folding pizza boxes. That is their job. That's how they earn a little bit of money. And the entire family does it. Now, they have teenage kids or early 20s kids, and they don't pay for their own Wi-Fi. So they have to do what they can to steal Wi-Fi that's active around them. And this is a great shot of their bathroom, of the older brother and sister trying to steal the Wi-Fi. But look at that toilet, guys. You've got to walk up 2-3 steps, and you're pinched into the only toilet in their apartment. You see that it's dingy, it's grungy, it's cramped. It's just not pleasant living, okay? Now, really quickly, and this will be the last pick I show, Joe, then you have where the Parks live, and how their paths cross is actually pretty interesting. Here's where the Parks live, okay? They have this beautiful piece of architecture and the backyard, and architecture is very important in this film. Bong Joon-Ho is a huge Hitchcock fan. There's an Easter egg of a bunch of Hitchcock films on the DVD shelf at the Parks house. The stairs are very important. The inside stairs and other stairs in the film. Bong Joon-Ho loved the stairs sequences in Hitchcock's Psycho, and he uses stairs. When you elevate on stairs, it is a metaphor for going up into like the upper economic classes. When you descend on stairs, you are going into the lower economic classes. And it's one of the primary metaphors. But Bong Joon-Ho designed this house intentionally with its lines and its structure. And when they had an architect come build it, the architect said, "Who in the hell would build a house like this?" What did he say? The architect saw the sketches and said, "No idiot would build houses this way. This is ridiculous." But that's what Bong Joon-Ho wanted. And the house is really clean and linear and minimalist, lots of wood, glass, metal.
Right.
I'm not going to spoil this one because it is so new.
And I haven't seen this one.
Oh, it's so good. So the idea of the parasite, I'll give you a little bit of this, and then that's where I'll leave it for you guys to watch, is this family, they're dysfunctional, but they're also very close. And what happens is a friend of the oldest brother comes to visit him, and they're having lunch. And he says, I'm going off to university, but I know this rich family that needs a tutor for one of their kids. And so they go to the computer and they make him like a resume and stuff. And he's very good with people. So he visits the rich family and he gets interviewed by the mother and says, okay, yeah, because, they have these killer tests in Korea when you're a teenager to determine what you're going to do. And so it's all this pressure. By the way, Korean teen suicide is one of the highest in the world because of this.
Really? Wow.
Yes. There's lots of pressure in certain Asian nations to take these standardized tests because it literally figures out what you will do for the rest of your life. And the son is another kid with a college degree who's not using it, who just can't get employed with it. So he gets the first latch into the rich family. Then the rich family is a husband, wife, little boy, and their housekeeper. Well, the little boy has created this odd abstract piece of art, and the mom thinks that he's very, very talented, that he could be a genius, a protege, or not a protege, what was Mozart called? A prodigy.
Prodigy.
Yeah, prodigy, right? So the son, the new tutor says, the son, Kim, says, well, you know what? I went to school with a girl in college who is an art critic. Cue his sister, who then comes in and she interviews for a part. And so now she is being hired by the rich family. So you've got the sister and the brother now working in this house. The housekeeper, they learn, is allergic to peaches. They don't like the housekeeper. The housekeeper doesn't like them. In a very insidious scene, the girl brings in some peach stuff, and this woman's like allergic to peaches, like peanut allergies. She could right, and it's
anywhere near her, basically, it's a problem.
Exactly, and I forget if she fed her something innocuously or she sprayed like some peach juice in the air. It was real subtle spy-like stuff.
It wouldn't take much if the allergy was that strong. Really, it wouldn't take much at all.
So she's out of the picture. Mom comes in to become the new housekeeper for the parks. So that's now 3 of the 4 employed. And then through other machinations with the kids, the dad Park loses his driver. Something happens. Oh, I know what it was. The girl is being driven home by the driver, and she leaves her panties under the seat to insinuate that there had been some kind of sex going on in there.
Wow.
Yeah, all these guys are clever and they're nasty. They're parasites, right? Dad Park finds out about it, fires the driver. I don't want someone with those kind of morals working for me. Well, guess what, guys? We know a guy who's a great driver. And then Dad Park. So now the entire family, the entire poor Kim family, is being hired and supported by the rich Park family. Okay. There is the struggle of the social classes. The Parks are very, very rich. The Kims are very, very poor. And then there's a cool little twist in there that I'm not going to talk about. The ending is rather strange and kind of leads you to watch it a second time because it's got one of those endings that when the film ends, you're kind of like, huh. And to me, I don't get upset with films like that. It just makes me want to watch it again. Before I get upset, I'll give it that second watch, if you will. There's a reason it won the Palme d'Or, the Best Picture, the Best Director. Pardon me. And as far as what you're looking for those of you who've watched Film Bits, because I know there are a few of you in here, you've got to be looking at the architecture and how the shots are set up. There's one beautiful scene where one of the Kims is looking into the backyard, and there's a table where Mrs. Park, the rich Mrs. Park, is laying her head down. She tends to get hysterical very quickly. She's laying her head down in stress, and the old peach or a peach allergic housekeeper is on the side of her, and the line of 2 intersecting windows literally splits them. Splits the high class from the low class. And Bong Joon-Ho is doing a lot of this. That's one of the reasons he had to design the house, because the architecture of the Park house and of the Kim house and their environs is a lot of the hidden metaphor and symbol within the story. So for those of you who haven't seen this and do go and watch it, be paying very close attention to all the stuff with houses and stairs and all that kind of jazz, because it's doing a lot of work. We would think it's mundane. It's just a freaking house. Many times a house is just a freaking house, except when the director custom built it.
Right. It's a house is a house until it's not just a freaking house, basically, right?
Yeah.
Every now and again, things are put there on purpose and done a certain way, and some directors do that very well.
Yeah. But last thing I'll say before I hand it back to Joe, this is all internal conflict. There do become some external conflicts, but they're not till much later. This is a film that is pillaring sociological problems of South Korean society, and doing it in an expert fashion. It blows my mind that it wins both the Oscar for a foreign film and Best Picture, and Ho gets Best Director as well. So, but it's a little tough depending on how you are as a film watcher. If you just like to turn your brain off and just chill and have a good laugh or watch an action scene, this is not the film for you. If you like to be challenged, provoked, and made to think, this might be a film you want to pursue.
Okay. Quick question for you, Joe, about the director.
Mm-hmm.
Is he like our unknown American directors, if you will, where he's getting a lot of critical acclaim, but not really getting a lot of money per se?
In Korea, he is the Tarantino of Korea, right?
Okay.
He like I said, Memories of Murder was voted the best picture of the century, the best Korean film of the century, right?
Okay.
And I'm a huge fan of Korean cinema. I've seen many Korean films. I think that in America, I mean, they gave him Snowpiercer, which did well at the box office. And they gave him, I think it was called Mother, or I forget what his other American film was, his other English film was. So he's known, but Parasite is what blew him up. Parasite.
So a better way to put it then is he was huge in his world, right? In his cinema world. And then more recently, he's begun to cross over and become a cultural icon, like everywhere. He's getting more notice nationwide. Is that the better word?
Yeah.
Or worldwide.
Yeah. But I mean, Tarantino was back in the early 2000s saying, you got to watch this guy. And that's huge when one of your best directors in America is saying, you got to watch this guy. It just took the country a little while to catch up to Tarantino.
Right. I mean, it generally does too. So
yeah,
it takes all of us a while. I mean, what I've noticed, at least when it comes to other countries and such, and their directors and writers or whatever it might be, it takes them to have a list, if you will. They have to have 3 or 4 good movies that somebody can point at and go, oh, wait, have you seen this? Have you seen that? Go watch these. They're all really good. And it's all from the same guy. And then people start paying attention.
And anyone in the chat who would like a digital copy of it, I have it. DM me. I'll email it to you. And you can check it out. But I never said that.
All right. My last one, and the movie that made me become a huge Zahler fan. I don't listen to all the media things and all. I don't care, man. I just put on a movie, and if I enjoy it, I enjoy it. This movie, for me, it might be one of my favorite movies just to throw on and watch, honestly. Like, for no reason. I don't care. It's on, I'm watching it, period. A Brawl in Cell Block 99. Vince Vaughn at his absolute friggin' best. Joe, if I told you that there was a Vince Vaughn movie out there where he wasn't the comedic lead, he was the drama lead and action lead in the movie, and it was his best performance ever, would you have ever believed me?
The one thing I'll say to that, Joe, is I really enjoyed him in True Detective Season 2, and he had a dramatic role.
Okay, I didn't see that. Okay,
that is the only time I've ever seen Vince Vaughn in a drama, period. And that could have been just like a lucky stroke, or a good script. So to think of him as a dramatic lead, yeah, you're right. It does take a little getting used to.
So Vince Vaughn took this role on purpose. He knew the way he was typecast in Hollywood. He knew he was the big, goofy, funny guy, the wise ass. He knew who he was. And he wanted to show people he could do something different and do it well. He read the script for this film and fell in love. He was not Zahler's original choice. This was not the guy at first. He wanted, and oh my God, his name just left me. Maybe Joe can help me here. He was in Grudge Match. I don't know if you saw that with De Niro and Pacino, or De Niro and Stallone. He was in The Walking Dead. I can see the guy. I just can't remember his name.
John Bernthal?
Yes, John Bernthal. Thank you. Bernthal was their original choice. He was the guy that he wanted originally because he saw him in another movie called Shot Caller as the same, as an Aryan Brotherhood kind of member, right? So he saw him in that same kind of get-up way, and he thought he's perfect for the role. That's who I want. Didn't work out for whatever reason. I think he was filming something else. And Vince Vaughn's people actually called Zahler and said, listen, he's got the film. He's seen the script. He wants in. He doesn't care what the salary is, what the pay is, whatever. Vince wants to do this role, period. He doesn't care. He just wants in. Went in, read. He loved it. And their relationship has built from there, obviously, as they've now done 2 out of the 3 films he's done, Vince Vaughn has been a part of. So Berlin Cell Block 99 is essentially about Bradley Thomas, who is your normal guy, really, right? On the surface, he just looks like your normal, everyday guy. In fact, he kind of looks like me in a lot of ways. Vince Vaughn and me have very similar features, right? We're both pretty tall. Well, Vince is bald in this movie. You know what I mean? Like, okay. He looks a lot like me in this movie. He's got somewhat of a build to him, but Vince Vaughn did lose a decent amount of weight to do this film because Thomas is supposed to be in shape. You know what I mean? He's not, he's supposed to be pretty in shape and all that. And Bradley Thomas, what he was for a long time was a drug runner. That's what he did. And he got in some trouble and came home, straightened his life out. He's working at a garage, doing the right thing, trying to keep his life together, but his life is shit, really. It's horrible, and he knows it. His wife's not happy. Everything's falling apart, and then one day he gets laid off from work. And as he's driving home, he passes a guy sitting in his car on the phone talking about, yeah, I'll pick it up tomorrow. Don't worry. We're good right now, though. Everybody's supplied up, and he's driving a Bentley and everything else, and he's going, I'm working 80 hours a week for what? Why am I doing this to myself? Gets home to see his wife sitting in a car with a backpack, tells him that she's been cheating on him. And this is the first glimpse we get into Bradley's violent side, right? Because he tells his wife to get out of the car, go inside. She goes to say something to him. He goes, no. Go inside, and then we will sit down and talk. Get inside. And he proceeds to beat the living hell out of her car with his bare hands. He pummels her vehicle. He throws the hood into the middle of the street. He punches off the mirrors. He grabs out the wiring from in the engine. Like, everything he can do to destroy this car, he does. So he can then go sit inside and talk to her calmly at this point. But he knew he had to. It was a very Jersey moment, in my opinion. He knew. I'm going to go destroy the non-alive thing real quick so I don't take it out on you.
Right.
And something he said in the conversation to her that I found very funny but very enlightening in a lot of ways. He said, every morning I get up and I go to the coffee shop. I stop at the little 7-Eleven over here or whatever, Quick Mart, and I go to get my coffee. And they have all those choices for your cream, right?
Mm-hmm.
He goes, they have half and half. They've got light cream. They've got milk. They've got 2%. And then they've got skim, which is like the bottom of the barrel. He's like, and every damn morning when I get there, the only option left is skim. That's all I can ever put in my coffee.
Okay.
He said, and I'm tired of taking the fucking skim milk. And at this point, basically, the wife admits that she's not happy. She knows that they're falling apart. And he says he's going to call his buddy and get back to what he used to do. At this point, the film jumps ahead a bit. He's making runs again. He's delivering drugs, picking up money for his guy. And it goes to him driving home. And they're now living in a 2-bedroom, I wouldn't say mansion, but it's a much nicer home than they were just in. Let's put it that way. The wife is pregnant. She's extremely happy to see him. They're very happy together at this point. They've got plenty of money. He pulls up in a BMW. There's an Escalade sitting in the driveway when he pulls up. So he's definitely making good money here. It shows him with his boss. They're friends. They're actual friends, right? Like, the daughter greets him at the door as Uncle Bradley. And he's like, does your dad know what the hell you're wearing? Because she's like 16 and she's got on a little mini skirt and stuff. And the daughter actually says something pretty funny back. He goes, what do you think my mom was wearing when they met? Like, so,
yeah,
a little smart ass.
Yeah.
But the Zahler moments that I find funny are this. he always tries to make the good guy the bad guy, but still keep him the good guy, right?
Okay.
So Bradley Thomas is a drug dealer. It's just what he's doing. He's not a good person. He's running drugs, right?
Mm-hmm.
Well, they set up a deal with another gang. I don't want to give away too much. They set up a deal with another gang. He's supposed to go on the run, help them pick up a big drop that's coming in, basically. He goes, they get out there, they pick it up. He tells these guys before they go, listen to me. We do this my way. It's my run. I never bring people with me, but your guy wants this. So you agree to do things my way. If something goes wrong, we drop the guns, we ditch the drugs, we drop it in the bay, and we come back for it later. We do not fight our way through this. We ditch it and we go, which they all agree to. The situation actually happens, and they pull a gun on him and tell him, no, we're taking our drugs, get on the boat, and go away, basically. Well, the cops actually show up in full force, and the other two gang members are like full arsenal here, Joe. They got what am I trying to say here? Fully automatic weapons.
Okay.
To the cops who are just showing up with their service, handguns, their normal revolvers or whatever it might be.
Right.
These guys have fully automatic weapons. The cops are actually in a bad spot here. Bradley is off to the side because they knocked him out basically and threw him over to the side. He comes to and helps the cops. And in the process, gets himself arrested because he was there. They know now why he was there. So he gets himself arrested, but he still helps the cops because to him, fighting against the cops is wrong. You get what I'm saying here? Like,
yeah.
That internal conflict in him where he knows he's a bad guy, but the cops are still the good guy to him.
Okay.
Even when he's getting arrested, when they bring him in, he's not arguing with the cops, fighting. He's not disrespectful. He's like, yes, sir, I know what I did. I know exactly what I did.
Can I have you pause? It reminds me completely of, did you ever read the Civil War comic book, Joe?
Yes.
Do you remember when Punisher killed the bad guy and Captain America beat the shit out of him, but he wouldn't fight back because it was Captain America?
Yep. Yeah.
So that's what that kind of reminds me of right there.
So I'm telling you, when they have him locked, when they are trying to interrogate him, really, right? They're expecting a hard time out of him. Nope, I know what I did. I know this, I know that. The only thing he won't do is give up his friend who runs the whole deal. They're like, if you give us him, nope, sorry. You got me. I'm done. All I ask is that I get my one phone call. I get to talk to my wife real quick, get my lawyer in here, and we'll get this going. He takes, I believe it's 7 to 10 years they give him, right? The wife says, I'll wait. I swear to God. He talks to his buddy. He says, you did this for me. It's on me. She'll be taken care of. So he goes to jail with a smile on his face, basically. Like, no big deal, right? Yeah, well, what happens when you screw over another gang is they generally want some revenge. Long story short, the other gang comes for his wife and they go to him in jail and they say, listen, we need you to get transferred to another jail and take out somebody who's in witness protection. And if you don't, well, then we're going to send you pieces of your child, your unborn child still. We will have the baby taken out and we will send pieces. This is where we also find out that Bradley's the friggin' Terminator, okay? Quite literally, he starts a fight with the CO, who is their boxing coach at that prison. He runs a boxing program. Yeah, he breaks his arm. He beats the hell out of this dude who's using his nightstick against him. And he walks right through him. He then beats up 3 cops in the hallway. Like, he gets to the other prison. He beats up anybody that tries to fight him, essentially gets the living hell kicked out of them.
Now is your willing suspension of disbelief? Are you like, wait a second, or are you on for the ride?
I'm on for the ride, honestly.
Okay.
I am, because I think what's happening is, yes, obviously he's got some training. You can tell this, right? You can tell by the way he fights, there is some training. And he hints this about he boxed a little bit. He did a little judo, he said at one point.
Okay.
Like,
so they let those thumbs out there. Okay.
Right. It seems like he did have some form of training in his previous life, right? And I think the motivation of, if I don't get this done,
Yeah.
my wife and child are done.
Right.
Which to him are the most, like, nothing else matters to him. Everything he's done has been to give them a better life.
Right.
So to him, that's all the motivation he needs right now. He's going to get this done. Don Johnson actually plays the warden at the new prison he goes to, which is essentially a friggin' hellhole. It is the least modern prison on the planet. They're still using old skeleton keys, and
Okay.
your floor is your toilet. There's just a little hole there, basically.
Okay.
And they give him one with a broken hole. It doesn't empty out. So he refuses to eat. He wraps his face. He won't eat nothing. He's like, it smells like shit in here. And I won't spoil everything for you, but there's one moment that I just have to get out there. At the end of this film, after he has realized that essentially he cannot get his hands on the guy they want him to, and even if he does, odds are they're still going to kill his wife, is what he comes to realize.
Okay.
He decides he's going to go after the big shot who's in this same prison with him and force him to make the phone call to let his wife out, or he's going to take him out.
Okay.
That's that.
Gotcha.
So he actually negotiates it to where you have to drop her off. I have him right now. So you either drop her off with my buddy or he doesn't make it out of here. That's that. The whole thing ends with him waiting for a phone call from his wife. And he's on the phone. And the warden, Don Johnson, is yelling to him, Mr. Thomas, we know you have somebody in the cell with you. We know what you've done. He goes, yes, I do. I have the prisoner here, and I have one of your guards here. He's quite scared, and he's worried I might kill him. I won't do that, though, if you give me 30 minutes. That's all I'm asking for, sir. 30 minutes. Don Johnson lights up a cigar and agrees. He goes, okay. And he sits back and waits. He goes, Mr. Thomas, I'm waiting, right? So he gets off the phone with his wife, puts the phone down. Then he goes, you're right, sir, you are waiting. I have another 3 minutes. And he takes said bad guy and he rolls said bad guy's head over the toilet thing, which is just a hole, puts the head there, and he proceeds to stomp the head on, yeah, you can guess the rest of the way, right? And Don Johnson is sitting there going, Mr. Thomas, open the gate, open the gate. He's going, warden, what are you doing? I got 2 minutes, though. You're interrupting me. It was one of the rawest, grittiest, the violence in this movie, and again, I don't know what that says about me that I like violence so much, but still, the violence in this movie is on a different level, and it's all very realistic. There is nothing in this that's so over the top that you're like, there's no friggin' way, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's all just done so well. The story, there's very few holes in this movie. The only weaknesses really to me were the way they cast the I guess other bad guys in this, if you will, right? The other gang members. I didn't buy them as gang members. They didn't come off as the tough guys. And maybe that was done on purpose as well. Maybe it was like, yeah, these guys have power, but they're not the real tough guys. As soon as somebody gets their hands on them, look what happens.
Okay.
So maybe that's what it was done for, but their acting bothered me a little bit. I don't know that there's a lot of people in this film you would know, honestly, but the two you would definitely know. And I know this for a fact. You would know Vince Vaughn, obviously, and you would know Jennifer
Carpenter.
She was in
Dexter.
Dexter, yes. That's why I knew you would know her. She was in Dexter. And Don Johnson, like I said. And then Udo Kier. Look him up. You'll probably know who he is, Joe.
Okay.
In the credits, he's actually listed as the Placid Man because they never say his name.
Okay.
He never says who he is, but he shows up, hands him the phone, like he tells him what he has to do. He kidnaps his wife, all these other things, all with the same look through the whole damn movie. Never changes. So he's called the Placid Man because he stays calm.
Where is this available for anyone in the chat that wants to watch it?
It was available on Amazon Prime. The last time I checked, and I'll check right now for you, Ball and Cell Block 99. It was, yep, they took it down. So right now it just says to buy at the moment, unfortunately.
Okay.
For the longest time, it was on Amazon Prime. For the longest. time, and it was so worth the watch. I'm telling you, this was the movie that hooked me on this guy. That made me go look up more of what he has written. So well written, and essentially just a great piece of what happens when you just keep making the wrong decisions, because that's what Bradley did. He just kept making the wrong decision, and even when things were going right for him, he was still going down the wrong path. It was never going to lead somewhere good. But also kind of a piece of, once again, determination following you through many areas, and your good guy is your bad guy while being your good guy still, right? Like,
Right.
He's never the good guy in this. Even though he is our main character and he's looked at as the hero in this, he's not really the good guy. He's the drug dealer. It's what he does.
Yeah.
He's just not as bad as the other bad guys in the film.
Right. So that's the writer just getting you into all kinds of moral dilemmas as a viewer.
Right.
Like, who am I going to support? Why am I going to support them? Those gray areas. It's available on YouTube and Apple TV and Vudu for $2.99 or $3.99 and Google Play. So it is out there. It is out there for those who want to watch it.
Vince Vaughn's best performance, period. Hands down, no questions asked, in my opinion. The absolute best performance Vince Vaughn has ever delivered in his entire film career.
He looks cool on the cover,
film.
on the poster. He looks really cool with the bald head on the poster.
If his whole goal was, as he said it was, to give people a different impersonation of him, like a different side of him, and show people he could do something different, this film did that. Because when I saw this film and I saw the caption for it, I was like, wait a minute, what? I'm like, Vince Vaughn's supposed to be a hard ass in this?
Yeah.
How's that gonna, like, that doesn't work. That doesn't compute for me, right? And I clicked it on, and at the end of it, I was like, holy crap, why hasn't done this with his whole career? Like, why has he been doing comedy? Because to me, he was better in this than he was ever in any comedy.
Well, if you guys want to get any of these film titles or these directors from us, by all means, DM us. We will
Absolutely
let you know. I know mine might be a little trickier, at least as far as the director goes, because of his Korean name, and Joe's just because no one knows this guy. All right. Thank you all. We got about, I think there's 5 left that rode this nearly 2-hour show. I knew it was going to be a long one. I just had a feeling.
And I know we all know the hype has started and all that stuff. So we appreciate anybody who's hung around at this point. We really do.
We really, really do. Remember, we're back in 2 weeks. Audience appreciation on Bearded Life Joe's channel. And that should be fun. We'll be doing sports films. We'll be doing teen comedy. I don't know how Camo Cam described it. And we'll be doing detective mystery thriller kinds with Walt. All right. Anything else you got, Joe?
Just the next 2 episodes will be on my channel, correct?
Yes.
So the next 2 times we will be on my channel. And then, like I said, at the second one, I will tell you guys, or Joe will tell you guys, whatever, where the next one will be at that point. Absolutely love doing these and can't wait to get back on the screen with the appreciation night. I think it's going to be a lot of fun.
Yep.
And tomorrow night at 8 o'clock, guys, to sit down on my channel. Hope to see everybody there.
Yes, sir. High School Comedies. Thank you, Camo Cam. High School Comedies. Thank you, Ron. I'm almost through episode 4 in True Detective. I'm working on both 7 and The Shining. If there are any shows you guys want to see me do for Film Bits, hit me up. I will gladly consider them. An 8-episode TV series takes a lot longer than one film. A film is about 8 to 9 episodes. So films will actually go pretty quick with me releasing them every 3 days. All right, guys. Rush Young, thank you for stopping by. I appreciate you, sir, very much. Okay, guys, take care. Enjoy the rest of your weekend, and we'll see you in a couple weeks. Bye-bye.
Be good, guys.